the Friday Cocktail, presented by Anna Glavinsky.
We're going to be speaking to my next guest, Helen Gibson. She's an author who believes we need encouragement now more than ever, and that we should actively seek out what she calls goosebump moments. So it's about her new book, Go for Goosebumps, how to encourage yourself through life's porridge and get more goosebump moments. It's offering practical encouragement drawn from frontline work in health, justice, policing and international development. Hello, Helen. You've got quite a background. Welcome. How are you doing?
Hi, Anna. Great to see you. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, what really strikes me is your background. Tell us a little bit. I don't know if you can even snapshot such a vast career, but tell us a little bit about your background that led you to this point where you are now.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head in your opening gambit where you're saying, yes, it's from the front lines in terms of some really interesting work in fields like healthcare and justice and international development. So, yeah, very much born out of those experiences, often some of the toughest environments or hostile environments, and taking some of those gems, nuggets, and the gold that is there to be found and making that available to anyone that wants it when we're looking for encouragement. And not only how we encourage ourselves, but others around us.
Now, you're talking about encouragement when people are feeling that life is like porridge. Where's that word come from as a description for life? What are you trying to get at?
Thank you. And I've nothing against porridge. I love eating porridge for breakfast. Can go a long way on porridge. But what I'm getting at here is very much that feeling that at times it can really feel like you are wading through porridge, or perhaps treacle, as some people would refer to it. But that sense of things being pretty tough and that daily grind and the porridge references, it's a bit fun in some ways, but it's something that we can all relate to. And whether it's those kind of moments or whether it is those sort of longer term, more protracted seasons where we do feel that actually life is a bit like wading through porridge and trying to find a way forward that is what we're after.
And what is the role of encouragement in all of that?
The role of encouragement is absolutely critical, and as we said earlier on, some of my work has been in very difficult places, but whether it's work in difficult places or the everyday of what we're dealing with right now, the need for encouragement is, I think, one of those key ingredients that can turn a situation around. It's something that we can put into the mix that is going to change things and be a real kind of performance enhancer for people, making things go from feeling like porridge to actually, if you've got the right kind of encouragement behind you, I really do believe that anything is possible. And I've seen that happen.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I was going to ask you next, actually, about some of the examples from your frontline work, because saying, a bit of encouragement, it sounds so simple. And you've obviously seen and dealt with people who are going through some incredibly tough times, not just those moments, but things that are super difficult to overcome. Can you give us a couple of case studies or examples of where, you have seen people going through those tough times, what they're going through, and how encouragement has been that key or that critical factor, like you say?
And I think it is that ingredient that can come into the mix where things are so very difficult. And a number of different situations with individuals and teams and organisations, and right through to different country situations that may be in recovery, dealing with post-conflict situations, those kind of scenarios. And yes, you're quite right, Anna, that it sounds very simple. And it's one of those things we talk about in terms of motivation, encouragement, but to actually do it, that's the clever thing, especially, as we say, when it's a really discouraging situation. So to me, this is about making encouragement something that is very practical. It's something that anybody can use in terms of, really bringing it to life. Doesn't have to cost us anything, nothing fancy, nothing high tech. It's something we can take anywhere with us. And to that extent, my message is around how we recognise the value of encouragement, but then put it to work, whatever scenario we find ourselves in, and really use that as a tool for, say, whether that's enhancing performance or whether that is simply a gift that we can give to people that will change the way that they think about things and live.
Absolutely. And I think something that people really connect to is the sense of, a story, even if the story isn't an exact example of what somebody is going through themselves, but, a story can be a metaphor for, how people can apply things in their own lives. Have you got a story up your sleeve, something that you particularly remember or that stands out to you, where you saw someone, obviously nothing confidential, no names being given, but an example of where you saw somebody in a difficult spot and encouragement was the thing that turned them around for them?
And one example has been in terms of working with addiction services and individuals that are in that situation, and being given that encouragement perhaps when they have lost that sense of purpose and the realization that they can change their lives around, and that there are treatment services and a huge amount of support that's available for somebody that is in that situation. But the encouragement that actually, yes, it is possible to turn your life around and to make that change for yourself. Yes, seeing that in those services.
And how you say, I like what you're saying there about how encouragement can be practical as well, because sometimes there's nothing more demoralizing actually than opening up to someone and they're saying, oh, you can do it, don't worry, every cloud has a silver lining. That can seem like encouragement, but often can feel not very practical. It doesn't necessarily hit the spot. So where do you go deeper with your message?
And I completely agree with you, Anna. I think how we acknowledge and respond and meet people wherever they might be is really, really important. In terms of where I'm going with it, and certainly in the book, it's very simple, very practical. It's actually a traffic light approach. So you've got your red, your orange, and your green for go. And again, that's something we all know, we can all relate to. We know how the traffic lights work. But very simplistically, it's about taking the time to stop. So when we are in these difficult situations, to actually stop and to recognise that, take the time out. But then also to note the encouragements that do come along the way. But we've got to be able to stop to be able to recognise those. And then with our amber light, that's all around obviously being prepared. And I think to be prepared is one of the greatest encouragements that we can give ourselves. It's encouraging to know that we are prepared. So anything, and I go into this in more detail in the book, but anything that we can do to spot potential and strengthen those areas of potential that are going to make us more prepared, that is really encouraging from an Amber point of view, and that being ready. And then finally, obviously, with the green light in terms of going, I'm encouraging people to go and to be encouragers and to recognise that actually we can all be encouragers today. We don't have to wait for next week until we're better qualified, until we're better looking, until we've got more money in the bank. We can all be encouragers today. So that green light is the signal, and really the rallying call to say, let's be an encourager and be an encourager today.
Absolutely. And you also talk about these goosebumps. Go for the goosebumps. That's the main theme of your book. What are you getting at?
I'm getting at the go for it, but let's go for those goosebump moments. So it is the moments that are, and the goosebump moments are going to be different for each and every one of us. So, but it's the things that light us up.
Okay.
It's things that excite us. Might be the slightly scary things, but have a think, what is it that gives you goosebumps? And let's try and go for more of those moments in life. So in the midst of this porridge and where we are at the moment in terms of what it feels like to many of us in the world with some of the situations going on, if we can be bold and keep a lookout for those goosebump moments, those are going to be the things that are the energizers, the things that give us the momentum, the things that are going to give us purpose. And the more that we can engineer that into our lives, the greater chance we've got of achieving what we want to achieve.
And what are your goosebump moments, Helen? When was the last time that you went for one? I'm obviously on the lookout for goosebumps all the time. For me, it's very much in the small things. So it is the first cup of coffee of the day. It's the song that comes on the radio that you love, that you weren't expecting. Perhaps an unexpected compliment from a stranger. It's those kind of everyday moments that do give me the goosebump. But of course, it's also the big things as well. So, like having this book is definitely a goosebump moment. But it's the big things in life and the family moments, the achievements work-wise, the meeting the king with my MBE. That was a goosebump moment. Wow!
But it's different. It's different for all of us. But I think the key message is, what is it for each of us? And then let's try and get more of those within our lives.
Look out for them and go for them with your green light. Well, there's been a pleasure speaking to Helen Gibson here. If you'd like to get your hands on her book, it is called Go for Goosebumps, How to Encourage Yourself Through Life's Porridge and Get More Goosebump Moments. You can find it on Amazon or the Talk Radio Europe bookshop. Helen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Anna. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.